You're about to watch a Trains Newswire video. If you enjoy what you see, consider watching some of our other full-length videos. Hotspots, Horseshoe Curve, Tehachapi, Chicago Racetrack, and more. Locomotive, the video companion to our best-selling special issue. And a special collection from documentary producer Rich Lucken. All these and more are available from our website, kalmbachhobbystore.com.
Good morning, Trains Nation. Today is Friday, January 18th. I almost said 17th. January 18th, all day until midnight. I am so glad you could join us for another episode of Trains Newswire Roundup. I am your loyal host, Steve Sweeney. And with me in the studio today is not Jim Wren, but Brian Solomon.
Hi.
And Brian
How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing pretty good, and you?
And how's all that coffee?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. I'm telling you, I'm liking this for a Friday morning because it is Friday and it's going to snow here this weekend. So I'm excited for all the picture taking we can do.
Yeah.
Now, Brian, today, I'm going to get to some news, but in case you don't know, Brian Solomon is one of Trains Magazine's columnists.
Yeah, I do a column here every month.
Yeah, for the magazine, and you also do podcasts with us.
I do two podcasts a month.
Yeah.
Conversations with Brian Solomon. We get some people and we talk about railways and this and that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that more in a second. But first, I want to give you some news. Heads up, our guys were in Mars today. That is the Midwest Association of Rail Shippers. Brian Schmidt and David Lassen, they were interviewing all kinds of rail executives, talking to short line guys, and they also got to be in on another fireside chat with BNSF Railways Chairman Matt Rose. This was fun. Not only did Matt Rose rip into precision scheduled railroading again, he also talked about automation and will coal really exist in 20 years? All that on Trains Newswire. Now you've taken some long distance Amtrak trains in your time.
I took two big trips last year.
Yeah.
I did the Southwest Chief and the Sunset, and well, not the whole Sunset, but all the Crescent and part of the Sunset.
And did they have dining car service?
They did, yeah. The Lakeshore does not. The
Lakeshore
Lakeshore had a dining car, beautiful new dining car, and I guess the punchers get served, the passengers get served.
Yeah.
It was an Irish term. The passengers get served box lunches, which has some people really upset, yeah.
But wait, hot meals are back.
Oh, really? Oh, good news.
Hot meals are back. Bob Johnston has a story out this week on hot meals coming back.
I'm sure he's delighted.
To the Capital Limited and to the Lakeshore.
Oh, that's very good. That's my favorite train, the Lakeshore.
Yeah, and it is the beef short rib. You have to take a look at this picture. I encourage all of you to take a look at the beef short rib, which, in my opinion, does not look like beef, but it's there. It's kind of square-ish,
okay,
blocky.
And they only have one menu item.
As far as it's what I understand, and there's a possibility for like a chicken marsala.
Okay.
And like an Asian noodle dish or something. It's all on Newswire.
Well, hey, food on the train is important, and if you're on a long distance train trip,
yeah, like 30 hours or more,
a box lunch really is not going to satisfy you. You need to have some proper victuals. You need to be able to eat.
Yeah.
And I know we were on the Crescent, and the Crescent's got a great diner.
Yeah.
We had several meals in the Crescent. thumbs up for the Crescent diner and the Amtrak crew on that.
Was that recently or was that years ago?
No, that was like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, so hey, good food on the Crescent. Get it while you can before they get something else.
And the Sunset was good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We also have a story out this week on grade crossings. There was a report that was out late in 2018 on grade crossing collisions, fatalities, injuries, accidents. Great story in there from Todd DeFea. We finally got that up this week. I encourage you to look at that.
I did a couple things on grade crossings myself.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a topic that I like to cover.
Yeah,
So.
let's talk to Brian for a second because the big story that's now popping up in headlines again, now that it's December 31st, New Year, January 1st, positive train control. And you did a big story with SEPTA back in 2018.
SEPTA was kind of ahead of the curve and did almost everything they needed to do ahead of the actual deadline.
Right.
And they were one of the few commuter railroads that really had it all in place, ahead of what they needed. But they had a very clever strategy, and we covered that in the article, and that they worked within an existing framework.
Yeah.
And they were already putting a lot of the infrastructure in before the accident happened in Chatworth that spurred all this. They had a good head start. But a good story was about a year ago, I think we had.
Almost a year ago. I think it was this
I
time.
worked on it a little more.
That's
than a
right.
year ago.
It was this time last year, and back in 2018, that you were in Philadelphia on the ground and doing the story. And now I think you'd be happy to know that they are a poster child for implementing positive train control.
They should be. I mean, I was really impressed with Jeff Neupel, who was the general manager.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed that he had a very thorough understanding of what he was paying for and how to go about and make that affordable and make it work within the framework of what needed to be done, to meet the legislation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, SEPTA, they did a really good job. I was very, very impressed. I mean, and the bad news is that positive train control slows trains down. You're not going to make the same schedules because it has to account for all the various contingencies, and trains aren't going to get over the road as fast. Not at least in the initial implementation.
Right.
And what Jeff has told me, as they tighten it up, they might be able to get things more the way it used to be. But in the initial implementation, you're going to slow things down, and that's just a reality. It's like you had a controversial bit on that was Fred Fraley interviewed a fellow, and one of the things he talks about was self-driving cars and how that will improve capacity on the freeways. I'd be interesting to see what the scenario is on that, because if positive train control, where everything is more or less under control, is slowing trains down, how are self-driving cars, assuming they're all self-driving, how is that supposed to speed things up?
It's a good question. So you've got a lot of people coming into the office this week.
We do. We're doing
this week and next week to be able to do some of your podcasts. We like to group people up. Can you just list off a couple of names of people you're going to be talking to?
I think Craig Willett's coming. Bob Johnson's coming down.
Excellent.
We're hoping to get Marshall Beecher, Chris Gus. I know those are four that I know that have been committed. We are certainly interested in others too. I mean, I'm interested in talking to anybody, but you have to have something to say. I mean, there's nothing worse than, so what do you think about, and then dead silence. That's not a good podcast.
That's right. Jim and I do that all the time.
Really?
Yeah. No, we don't. I mean, sometimes we do. We just sort of make it up as we go along, but that's our personality.
I'm spontaneous.
Yeah.
I like to kind of just jump into the fray and make things happen. People think that I spend a lot of time kind of back thinking about it. It's usually afterwards I'm like, well, actually, I probably should have talked about, so let's go on to the next subject.
Okay. Well, and the other thing I was going to ask you about is, if you could give us a preview for what you're thinking about for your next columns, what might that be? Conrail.
I know everyone's talking about Union Pacific, and the end of May, the 31st of May, 1999 was the end of Conrail operations, which for me was the end of Conrail. Now I realize that from a financial business perspective.
Right, there's shared assets in New York and
even
Detroit.
Before that, I mean, we had, CSX and Norfolk Southern bought and divided Conrail, and that happened in 1997, 1998, but the Conrail as an independent operating entity ended at the end of May. So that's the date on the timeline that we will acknowledge in the column, and I'll talk about my impressions of Conrail and why I liked Conrail and some of the things I miss about Conrail, and maybe a look towards the future. And so that'll be one column. And then we've got some other ideas too. It's all a matter of pulling that rabbit out of the hat and trying to find something that's interesting. I want you to read it and then learn something, but also to be entertained by it. And if you think you know what I'm going to say before I said it, then I missed my mark. So hopefully we'll do something that'll kind of read between the lines too. You always read between the lines because there's interesting stuff there, white space,
That's right. I like that. Well, guys, all this and more. Trains Newswire, Trains Podcasts, Trains Magazine. For everyone at Trains, have a great weekend.